Hey guys, Late to Gaming here. I've got something a little different today. So I've been playing The Wandering Village for the past couple of weeks, basically since it hit early access, and I've live streamed several hours of it. But today I thought I might do a tour of my current village. So this isn't my longest running village by any means, but it's one I'm kind of fond of because I've actually taken the time to lay things out in more of a grid situation. It's not quite as haphazard as most of my villages. I've actually put in some thought about where things are in relation to each other. So I just thought it might be interesting to just do a little tour of it. So I'll pan out here and let you see an overview. You can see the western edge, I'll call it. Doesn't have a whole lot going on. It's mostly centrally located and fairly heavy on the eastern side as well. So let me pause here so we can really take the time to go through it. So this is my primary central section. I'm still fairly early on day 64, so I have a lot of tents still, although I've started building huts. So this is my, primarily my housing kind of area, and I put my kitchen and a bakery here close by. Also, we've got a couple pantries near to those, so that is both located near to the housing and also fairly centrally located. I also have a couple berry gatherers nearby to that. If we go slightly north, we've got a farm which is currently focused on growing wheat, although that's a temporary situation just to add some variety to the diet. A couple air wells and 3 water storage tanks basically dedicated in theory to supplying water to this particular farm. As we move to the south, here I've got my carpenter and stone cutters, so I'm doing some of my refined resource creating here, again centrally located, so those in this case can be transported anywhere on the map without requiring a great deal of walking. I have a couple of material storages here, although currently they're pretty empty, but both for storing incoming raw materials and the actual refined materials that I'm creating. And then on down here I have a windmill, which probably seems out of place, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. If we move west, I've got a couple of short roads heading west. This one isn't really doing a whole lot other than serving this berry picker. I could put a little spur road in there probably. Here I've got my herbalist, and then same deal here. We've got air wells, water tanks. I need to add at least one more, probably 2 more water tanks to help serve that. My doctor is right next door, so it has easy access to the herbs. Another storage here to hopefully serve that. As we go south, we get down here to the bile extractor. It's the only place that can go. So I put the decontaminator right next to it, and also, of course, some more material storage, which currently is holding some bile, but I have massive amounts, so that's scattered all over currently, but at least there's some local storage there, a small amount for the decontaminator. So as we start to move west along this road that I have here, I have one sawmill, and then at the end we have our dung collector, and I have 2 compost heaps currently built, although only one's active. I've deactivated this one just because of lack of workers, basically. But depending on the situation, I will fire it up. That's pretty much all that I've got going on currently in this western portion. So my plan is to add a nursery here because I have a great location with these 3 mother trees. I should be able to get 100% efficiency from that nursery, I believe. And then with that in place, I'll put a forester in probably here. It's already heavily forested, so we'll put in a forester here and just try to dedicate this entire kind of western green space to tree production. As we move down here, we have a nice open green space, a couple of horns, but nothing significant. And this giant truck that I'm currently working on. Once I get it out of the way, or maybe even before, I plan to put another farm in down here. And depending on the weather, this farm will be dedicated primarily to wheat production. And that is the reason for placing the windmill here. I didn't want to have to carry, so currently I'm carrying wheat from the wheat farm past the bakery down to the windmill, then back up to the bakery. It's very inefficient, but eventually it'll make more sense. It'll be the wheat farm up to the windmill, then on up here to the bakery. So that's my plan. This area will eventually probably get some additional berry pickers, at least a couple, depending on the efficiency. There may even be a space for 3 there. I can't quite tell just from looking right now. And that's basically it, unless I just run out of space, which is entirely possible. There's also a risk, depending on my population, that I could need an additional plot of farmland. If so, this would possibly be turned into that if I can kind of work around where I place those berry gatherers. This area eventually will get a quarry temporarily until we mine this entire boulder. Then at that point, it will really just be freed up for any sort of buildings that I need to stick somewhere. Offhand, honestly, nothing comes to mind, but it could very well end up serving as just warehouse space or possibly some additional air wells or something of that nature. So as we move back to the east, we have currently a couple of research stations. Those are somewhat temporary. I'm running through research just pretty quickly. Eventually I'll have everything researched that I want, and we'll be able to deconstruct those, and that space will be freed up for something else. I do have one quarry currently working on this boulder. No real plans for this area, honestly. Mostly I tackled this one just because of its proximity to the stonecutter, because I am needing slabs pretty frequently at this point. Here we have some more one air well and some more tanks serving the mycologist, which is fairly small, but currently it's more than enough. And then the Anbu kitchen directly next to the mycologist, and then the feeding trebuchet right there. So this part of the village is pretty self-contained. I do have to bring inputs, effectively water, and I'm not sure if the mycologist even uses compost now that I think about it. But those are really the only inputs that I need, and everything else stays localized to here. So that is very effective. And since I have water right here, this kind of block is pretty well self-contained. I do have a lot of stone to mine down here, including this boulder. again, this will be freed up eventually for potentially huts or warehouses, or maybe something like realistically probably the iron furnace and the glass blower will go in here at some point. Put them near to the other resource refinement facilities. And then as we move northward, currently I have a sawmill that was working on this giant trunk. I shut it down temporarily due to, again, worker shortage. I wanted to focus on the one down in the area that I indicated would be the wheat farm, so I can get it out of the way. But we'll resume this one at some point. And then the northeast corner, we have our scavenger hut, excuse me, and then the hornblower and the Ombu doctor. There is a good potential that I could put a small herbalist here to serve this Ombu doctor, and then I would be able to kind of share the water supply that this farm is using. Put in a few more air wells and some tanks, probably some tanks down this way, and fill this in with air wells, maybe this corner. And I think that the farm plus an herbalist would be pretty well served by that. We have this nice area. Once this giant trunk is out of the way, it could potentially serve as a good location for another farm if needed. It's relatively clear currently of anything. There are these two mother trees, but honestly, neither of those would be good candidates for a nursery. So I probably will just get rid of those at some point and focus on more efficient tree production. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, I'm fairly happy with the way it's turned out. I've paid as much attention as possible to trying to grid it out and have nice, long, straight roads. Again, trying to really think about where certain facilities are in relation to others, making sure that I have proper storage near, for example, water tanks near any air wells, that I have pantries near to the kitchen and the bakery, material storage in certain areas. I will go back and replace some of that with warehouses once I have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, that's kind of my plan at the moment. This particular game currently it's going fine. I have I have an abundance of water. I have an abundance of bile. Starting to build up a reserve of wood and stone, but I really don't have a true abundance of anything else. The food situation has been kind of just getting by. I've really been focused hard on the research and the building and the resources, the natural resources that I need. So now that I pretty well have most of that in hand the way that I want it, I will be focusing more on food production, I think, from here on out, and then growing the population as well. So that's kind of my plans at the moment. Again, we're on day 64, so what I consider still fairly early in game, although I know around day 100 I will be we'll get a message from the elder and we'll have opportunity to build a survival monument if I want. But considering I have a game now that is on day, I can't remember the exact day, it's pushing 350. I really don't consider day 64 or day 100 to be very far in. Still a lot to do, but I think I've got a decent base here with this village design in which to do it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out. So that kind of does it for that quick tour of the village. Like I said, it was something new, something I hadn't tried before. So if there's any interest in it, then I may do some more. I'll just kind of wait and see what the reaction might be. I would be thrilled to do more videos on this game. I'm kind of obsessed with it right now, and so anytime that happens, I start wanting to just dig in deeper, so it would not hurt my feelings at all to do a little more content dedicated to this game. Also be happy to do some similar content for other games. I've started playing Frostpunk recently. If there's a kind of an interest in a similar tour of that, I may very well do something once I have a town that I think is suitable. That's not right now. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're interested in more, drop a comment below, and look for me on social media if you want to see what else I've got going on. And I hope you have a wonderful day.